Hey everyone, Andrew Hess here. Today I wanted to do another Power Automate that we were working on in the past. The Power Automate was to create this dynamic form using a manual flow. And instead of just doing manual flow, I was thinking let's do a scheduled flow with an adaptive Teams card. Let's get into it and let's build that today. All right, so this comes from a video we made about 2 weeks ago, automate a dynamic PDF. And I just want to say that this was from a request from one of you. So all the way here at the bottom, it says, hey, for the fun of it, what if the dynamic selection were made in Teams with an adaptive card and sent by email to the requester? It's a great idea. I was like, okay, let's create this adaptive card. Things have changed over the past years. Adaptive cards have changed. Let's take a look first at the flow, just kind of go over what it did, and then we'll go into adaptive cards and recreate this, okay? So about 2 weeks ago, we created this flow. It had a manual trigger, and in here you could select the status, like complete, on hold, or not started. And what's important is this was a multi-select list of options. So it was multi-select. And then we had a range, and this was a single selection choice field, past 3 months, past 6 months, past year. And then you could print a PDF out of this. So let's just show the PDF. Here's an example of the PDF based on your selection, right? You can select complete, on hold, or not started. You could then print this PDF. And this was just an idea that we came up with. You can tailor this to your needs. The goal for today is to recreate this using an adaptive card. And let me just give you a little tip. Instead of coming in here and editing this one that we kind of like and maybe we don't want to break, what I like to do sometimes is I come back and I go to my flows, right? I go to all my flows, and down here I click on the 3 dots and I click Save As. That's what I do sometimes when I don't want to lose my old data. I don't want to export it, but I just want to make a copy. And so with adaptive card, now we're going to generate task PDF. So we have a new Power Automate. It's going to be saved as, it's a copy. Now what's important when you do this is it starts off turned off. So right now, when it copies, it's turned off. And since this is a manual flow, I'm just going to turn it on. It's not a big problem because it's a manual flow. If this was automatic, that could be a problem, right? It could run multiple at the same time, but this is a manual flow. So let's get in here and let's do some editing and let's do a dynamic card. My goal is, or the goal that I'm going to come up with is, instead of a manual trigger, we have our fields here. We're going to do a scheduled trigger. So I'm just going to delete the trigger here, and I'm going to do a scheduled flow, and it's going to be based on a reoccurrence, and this reoccurrence is going to happen every week, and we're going to pick my time zone, Eastern Standard Time. That's where I am. And then the start time, that doesn't matter to me. I want it to be on Monday. Maybe we do put it, no, we don't need a start time. At which hours? I want it to start at 9 a.m. Runs 9 o'clock Monday every week. And this is military time. If you wanted to do, later in the PM, you could do that. But we're going to do 9 a.m. Monday every week. That's how this flow is now going to start. I'm just going to go ahead and click Save. Oh, so this did break something. So we removed the apply to each. So this is now blank. So I can't save yet. All right. Let's just put something in there for now, just so I can save it. This is just a temporary thing sometimes I like to do. I'm just going to say temp. And then in my apply to each, I'm just going to put my compose, this one right here. Let's rename it. Let's rename it to status, compose status. And now it allows me to save. Now, what we want to focus on is adaptive cards. I went to adaptivecards.io, and this is where we're going to build our adaptive card using the designer. And you can kind of scroll down and you can see how people are creating adaptive cards in many different modes. This one looks like it's a weather adaptive card. And so right here it kind of tells you you can do bot framework. Microsoft Teams, that's what we're going to do today. You can put it in an Outlook, Windows timeline. There's all kinds of options in here, all kinds of information. If you want to learn more beyond this video, you can visit the hub. There's all kinds of nice information in the documentation, build responsive layouts, collapsible sections. There's all kinds of information in here to get you started too. Like there's some example JSONs if you want to get started. But what we're going to do today is we're going to go to the designer. Right up here is the designer. And what's great about today is it's 2025, right? It's July, going on August very soon, 2025. And like all things Microsoft, check out the new adaptive card designer, right? So there's a new adaptive card designer, and that's what we're going to do today. I want to create something new. I want to make sure it's nice and big in here. Let's see. Okay. We're looking, we can view that very easily. We can see here on the left side, right? So over there on the left side, we can see that it kind of looks like maybe a Power App. It kind of looks like Power Apps, right? Like drag and drop different parts in there. And what's great is as we start dragging and dropping things, you see the JSON starts changing, right? So the JSON, the card payload editor, started working for us. And that's very helpful. It starts editing the JSON, and we're going to copy and paste that into Power Automate. So if you remember in our flow, there was two options. There was status and there was a range. So what we're going to do first is we're going to put a little message at the top. And to do that, I'm going to drop in a text. So not an input text. I just want like a label. So let's see here. We're going to drop in a text block. So I'm going to drop in a text block, and we can write right over here. So right above me, right up here, we can start writing. We'll say something like, good morning. How would you like to view your status this week? Right? This is based on your requirements, however you want to do it, but that's just how we're going to do the card today. And then we're going to have two options. And these options are going to be input choice sets. So I'm going to drop one in here, and I'm going to drop two in here. Now in our input choice sets, right, we have this is how it looks over here. You can click preview anytime, and it shows you how it looks responsively in different formats. Beautiful. We're going to come over here to right above me, and we're going to start filling in some of the options. Now, first off, in here, it's very important to put in an ID. So the ID here will be status. And what it's going to say is the label is, it's going to say just status. And placeholder text, no, we're fine with that. Style, we can change the style. Expanded, you know, if we want it to be radio buttons. Filtered, we're just going to do compact, keep it small. And no default value. Required, yes, it's required. Error message, if it is required, I'll just leave that as it is right now. We can see our choices down here. So for choice number one, it's going to be, we're going to do the same choices that we did before. So think about this, right? When you're looking at the choices over here, on the left side, think of this like the label. And on the right side, this is the value that gets passed to Power Automate, right? So actually the value is more important. This is what the user sees. This is what is passed in Power Automate. So for me, I'm just going to make them the same thing just because that makes it easy for me. So complete, on hold. We can add a new choice, one more, and that is not started. And not started. So, you know, maybe like you had a very long not started, you know, for this month on this, you know, we had a long text in there that you wanted the user to see, but you didn't want the value to have all that information, right? So that's why there is a variable name and then a value. All right, so we have our choices. What else is very important is this checkbox right here, allow multiple selections. So we want to turn that on. So if we go to expanded now, instead of radio buttons, it turned into checkboxes. And how do you want to view it? Let's leave that as expanded. I like that. And we can take a preview and we can see how it interacts. These are our dynamic, our adaptive cards, actually. These are our adaptive cards that we have here. We can see it says status, it is required. Okay, let's move on to the next one, and that is down here. This label is going to be date range. Let's do date range. All right, and it's not a multi-select this time. Do not forget the ID. The ID is very important. So range, I'm going to keep this one as compact, always visible. It is required. And the choices are, we're going to keep them the same as before. It's very important. The case and everything is the same. Past 3 months, past 3 months, past 6 months, past 6 months. And then we have one more option, and that was the past year. Past year. Now, all of this was defined in our Power Automate before. We're just matching it to the same thing. These are choices that you're going to get passed into Power Automate. Look, let's take another look. Everything looks okay. We don't want to show only when. Maybe we could, only when status is completed, but we don't need to do that. Spacing, default extra small. We can kind of make the spacing a little bit less if we want to. Let's just go small. Okay, take another preview. Looking good, looking good. I like that. Now, what is next? After we have our choices, what do we need to do? We need a button to accept our choices. So to do that, it is going to be an element here. Make sure I'm always in the way. I'm always in the way. I want to make sure I'm there, but I'm always in the way. An action set. I'm going to drop an action set in here. And the action set is going to be submit, right? So we'll just submit. That's our ID. ID is very important. And if we add an action right here, right near me, add an action, action submit. So the title will just say, instead of action submit, let's just say print PDF. Say, or get PDF, print PDF, however you want it to be. Style, positive. Oh yeah, we can make it blue. I kind of like that. So print PDF. We could call it request PDF if we wanted to. You could add your own images in here if you wanted to. There's all kinds of things that you can do. And maybe we'll do that further down the road when we get more complex adaptive cards. Today, let's just do simple. So today we're doing simple. If you look down over here, right? So if you look down here, it has this nice JSON. It did all the work for us. This beautiful JSON, the card payload editor has been created for us. I'm just going to click copy, and I'm going to go back to Power Automate. Okay? All right, so now I'm back in Power Automate, and before I compose my status, I'm going to do adaptive card. Now, there's a little bit of confusion here, and this goes with some of the rules that Microsoft says is if you want to get a response and not just have an adaptive card, you need to respond and wait. So what's important is the post an adaptive card and wait function. This is what we want to do. We want to wait for a response. We're going to use the Flowbot, right? We're not going to do Power Virtual Agents or Copilot Studio. We're not going to do that. We're going to post it with a chat with myself. I'm going to do a direct message to myself, right? Because this is a flow for me. I'm going to make this simple. Maybe this is to your supervisor, your CIO. Maybe you make this for them. And in the message, this is where it's a little confusing. On the other ones, it says adaptive cards. This is where I got a little confused. So if we look at cards again, and we'll look at reply with an adaptive card. And if you actually post in a channel, you see here it says message ID, adaptive card, right? So it's different. That confused me for a little while. Like, why do they name it differently? Microsoft, this is an opportunity for you to update this and fix it. It's a little confusing. In the message right here in our post adaptive card away for response, we're going to paste in that JSON that we created. And we are going to click save, or not yet. I'm in the compose statement. Let me just show you what's going to happen and why it's not going to work first. We're going to make an error on purpose. In our post adaptive card, what we want to do is we want to grab the status here. So this is our field that we created. This is what happens when you hit the submit button. We get the status out. And it's not going to work. And I'll show you why. So let's go ahead and give it a test. Test, manual flow, test, run the flow, done. On my other screen, you probably didn't see that, I did get a Teams message. So I got a Teams message, and we can see all the way down here, we got our card. But take a look here. Let's zoom in. Let's make sure we zoom in a good bit. We can see our workflow. It comes from workflows, right? Which is Power Automate in Teams. It comes from workflows. And we can see here, we have good morning. How would you like to view your status this week? And so we can select multiple of them, select the date range, and click our button, print to PDF. Now, this would work, but there's a problem. And the problem is, let's take a look at our compose status. You see the raw inputs? It comes in as, our multi-line text comes in as a single line text, comma delimited. If you take a look in there, we're grabbing body, data, status. So I'm going to close here, and I'm going to do an FX formula. And we're going to split it by the body, the data, the status, and then we're going to put a comma there. So we're going to split it and put it by the commas. And we're going to click save again. And let's just try again and take it and test it. All right, so we're going to test manually, test, run flow, done. All right, so I got another message from Teams. It is here. I'm going to select let's select all three, the past year, print to PDF. All right, so if we go back to Power Automate, we're now going to wait for it to run. It looks like everything is successful. It's looping through, creating our HTML. It's then putting it in OneDrive and then converting it to PDF and storing it in SharePoint. So in SharePoint, we can now do a refresh, and we can see, I did a few before the video, tested out my video, but right here, a few seconds ago, we created a new file. And this new file has all of our data in there. So it is working. Everything is working as expected. This is beautiful. Let's just kind of go over the flow again. Now what happens in this compose statement, let's take a look at the outputs. So you can see, it's so small. We can see it puts it in an array. So it takes our comma delimited value and puts it in an array. Why is it how do I know it's an array? Because it has this square brackets. That's what an array looks like. And so now let's try one more time with a test. Let's only choose two. So manual test. We're going to get a message in Teams again. So here's our message in Teams. We're going to choose two this time. Let's do completed and not started. Those are the only ones I want to view, the past 6 months. So now there's only going to be two tables, right? Because when it runs, it's now only going to loop twice. In our compose statement, you can see here, it put it in an array of just the two that we selected. That's what we wanted. And then it loops through the table, creates that beautiful PDF, refresh it a few seconds ago, and now we only have two tables. That's exactly what we wanted. Okay, based on that user's question, there was one more thing to do, and that was to send it to an email. We're going to store it in SharePoint, but not only am I going to store it in SharePoint, I'm going to send an email to myself. Send an email right here, version 2. I'm going to send it to myself. And let's see, what's important? The subject, let's say status this week. And you could put the date in there if you wanted to. We could put the HTML directly in here, or we can save the PDF, right? This is based on user requirements. This is based on how you want to see it. Do you want to see the HTML directly in here, or do you want a beautiful PDF? Let's just do, maybe we'll do both. Let's see if we can do both. So we're going to put in the final table and the outputs. We need to make sure actually to toggle the code view on. And we need to make sure that it knows that this is HTML. And then the add attachments, the content is the file, right? So the most important is the convert file using path. And then we'll just say the file name is this week's status.pdf. Click save, and we're going to have this beautiful workflow. It's going to send us emails. It's going to save it. All this Power Automate just makes things so much simpler. Let's give it a test. Run the flow. This time in Microsoft Teams, all I really care about is what's not started and what's on hold. I want to see everything in the past year, all of our statuses. Run the flow. We're now going to have a new document created. Takes a little bit to create the document. We can kind of watch the flow. It kind of finished right there. All right, so we refresh SharePoint. We can see a few seconds ago it created the PDF. Not started and on hold is what it's showing. We then can view our Outlook. And Outlook this week, we can see that we kind of have some HTML problems, but let's take a look at this PDF. The PDF comes through perfect, exactly how we want it. This is awesome. This is beautiful. This is what Power Automate is about, right? It's about productivity. It's about doing the work now and saving you time in the future. So maybe we'll go into more about adaptive cards, but I loved this user's idea was to do adaptive cards instead. Today we created a very simple adaptive card. You could put in your logo for your business. We did a multi-select, we did another choice field, and then we did an action submit. So maybe in the future we'll do some more adaptive cards. That's why if you like and subscribe, we'll get into it some more. My name is Andrew Hess, and I'll see you next week.